current landscape is extremely quite unnerving, purely because we've had the Building Safety Act introduced, but we've also had a lot of changes in regulations, and also the backdrop in respect to funding, interest rates, economic climate, etc. So the landscape is quite unnerving, and this all comes back to Building Safety Act. And in terms of adaptation, I think we've got a long way to go. I think the Building Safety Regulator wanted us to change from doing design and build to probably going down a more traditional route, and that doesn't necessarily suit the funding models that we've got in place.
I think the big challenge that we're seeing is around information management more than anything else. Designers know how to design, and we're seeing former building control professionals step into the building regulations principal designer role. We've got very competent teams there. Where the challenge is starting to happen is how we actually manage the information that's between them and pull together a coherent and a very clear argument for the regulator in our submissions. I would like to think that in 5 years' time it would be very similar to CDM, where it just becomes business as usual, and the challenges and the heartache that we face today is just a thing of the past, and we've got to a point where we know what good looks like, and that's what we do.
A lot of the discussions today were quite hard-hitting in terms of where we are from a regulatory perspective, and where we want to be. So if you were looking at it as a blank canvas, it feels quite dark, but at the same time, the discussions around what's being put in place to kind of make things better, we feel like, I think 5 years is a long way away, and I'd like to think by that point we'd be where we were before all this started, in the sense that we could carry on building, there's the confidence between us and the government, and as a developer contractor we'll be able to deliver schemes confidently, knowing that we're doing everything safely and to the letter of the law. What was great about it was that we're all committed to doing the right thing in terms of what the initiative is here from the regulator, and I think we've always been, and I think for us it feels almost like we've been doing it for so long. So take us on face value for that, and take us to task when you wish, but allow us to continue.
At the moment, it's hard not to look at like the criticism the regulator's getting at, and I think they totally accept that the regulator understands it, but they're as much up against it as anybody else. It was a quick enactment for the right reasons, and everybody sort of got their frustrations, but obviously everybody can see why we're doing it. I think the industry has reacted really positively to it. Those who actually get it are given a positive message. Obviously there's those who are just sort of stuck in a bit of a gripe because of what's happening, the extra cost it's going to have, the time implications, which we all accept. It's not ideal for anybody.
I personally believe there's a resource issue at the heart of the building safety regulators' ability to respond to the applications that are being made, and I think they recognise that. They have recognised that, and they're doing their best to try and recruit from a limited pool of RBCAs who have the right class ticket to be able to approve HRBs. I think they need to redouble their efforts to try and ensure that they can service the applications. We certainly as an industry need to carry on making sure that our people and our supply chains understand the impacts of the Building Safety Act. And a third one, as you said, the biggest, but this kind of idea, a clearer understanding about what constitutes a good gateway to application. I think if there's some precedent set for us to work towards, I think that would really help speed things up and create better applications at Gateway 2.
I think from our point of view, the industry has adapted really well to the requirements that are being put upon it. We've never sat in a room with funders, designers, managers, operators and talked about the safety of our buildings and the occupiers of those. So the industry itself has adapted well, I think, and proactively engaged. It's what we're now addressed with the regulator that's becoming the sticking point. I think really that the Act set out to change the culture in the industry, and through the various discussions today, I think that's evident. As I mentioned before, we've got funders in the room, we've got contractors, we've got development managers, and we've got end occupiers. And for us all to be aligned on a single goal for once in our industry is quite a change, and really refreshing to see.
Everybody is just so concerned about the state of how things are, and the big implications from, from an economic growth, delivery of houses, implications for potential job losses if we don't actually get this sorted out. So I think, unfortunately, it's not positive, it's a negative in terms of there's big implications for our industry unless things start to improve.
Events like this are always great to just see so many different people from different disciplines coming together and sharing knowledge. So what I take away is just that we've got a very collaborative industry, and I think that's a real positive.